Now it's operating more efficiently because we have a lot of cold traffic that's very inexpensive, but a low conversion rate. But we're not spending too much begging them to come back, and we're not really spending too much converting them. Again, this is a test that, if this can work, could revolutionize what levers you can pull on what product categories and what audiences, on what ads, and not only what ads, but how much money you want to spend on that ad for the appropriate amount of time for that product in that season.
I want to make something super apparent for everyone watching before this confuses everyone.
Okay.
It's in testing.
So that's what I'm saying. You're seeing the way befores. This is in think tank mode. This is the theory so far.
So don't do this yet.
Yeah, right.
Wait for the data to come in. We'll have more information on it, but this is the current test going on and the theory behind it. Okay.
I'm so excited for this.
The grand reveal.
I might come out of my brain semi-retirement I'm trying to talk myself into. No, it's so cool. So, you know how we have $773 in spend on this ad here, and it has no purchases? It supports the theory that I've been working on that is so fucking unbelievably beautiful that it's a culmination of everything that we've taught all the way to this point. Okay. There's a freight train effect that starts to happen. See the frequency at 1.2? I want anybody out there that's running meta ads in the Andromeda model, if you've been following along, to look at your top spending ad and look at the frequency compared to the ad set frequency. Watch this. Main ad, highest spend, lowest frequency. No
last
CPA.
7 days.
Last 7 days. Yep. Highest ad spend, lowest frequency, no purchases. Everything else has purchases with good CPA and a higher frequency for the most part. This is two different groups. Your main ad says, I'm your star runner. I'm going to sprint off on the field. I'm going to run the marathon first. I'm going to make it to the end first. No one's going to be able to catch me. I'm your runner. Said, great. Here's all of the ad spend. Go. And it says, I'm just going to run by everybody, and I'm going to touch 1.2 times, and I'm going to scream their name in their ear. So they're going to run by and be like, yellow leaf hammocks are the best. He runs by. Like, what the fuck was that? That thing was amazing. But he said yellow leaf hammocks. Now, everyone wants a CPA on that. That's not his job. It's to run by you. Everything else is like, hey, do you see that crazy person? Yeah, he ran by and said yellow leaf hammocks. Okay, so you've heard of us. So let me tell you about us. We're yellow leaf hammocks. We have amazing products and good quality, blah, blah. This is all your remarketing. So why didn't this get an attribution? Because this thing ran by. It was the first click, but it was not the last click. It doesn't need to be the CPA.
Or even an impression.
Right. It just needs to have high ad spend, good hook rates, which we already know, and it has to have a low frequency, which means this one isn't spending too much time on a group of audience. It's running by. Now, why is this running by at such a fast speed? Because everything else below is doing such a good frequency. I have $135 CPA. It was $400 when I took over, just as an FYI. So this is increasing in frequency. Yes. So you mean to say that if the CPA here is high, as it is at $773, or will be if we ever make an actual sale on that ad, I don't care. But remember what we said. We said that your first ad has to have low frequency. Well, that's new, but lower frequency. It is inside of our frequency and the ad engagement. That is something that we did say, frequency between 1 and 3. If it's above 5, then it's bad. So low frequency, that has been true since the time period that I've made those metrics. It's at a 1. But why is it low? Is because this is running by everybody. It doesn't need to be the first and the last thing that gets a click. That's why CPA and platform no longer matters in our brain. Think about it differently. This is running by. This CPA is 773. Is everything else cheaper? Yes, which means this did such a good job at running by the people, yelling out the name with a really good hooky ad that got everyone interested, that this just came by like a street sweeper and just cleaned everybody up. What happens?
You're really just deducing the funnel at this point.
Yes. Now, what happens if that ad takes that ad spend and spikes it to the moon and fucks us all up? Could happen. It has happened. Or sometimes maybe the wrong message gets ad spend, which it was the right message, but it was a wrong message to the right group of people at the wrong time with too much ad spend, kind of messed things up. So I started going through and said, you remember our Vermont glove hammock? Or Vermont glove hammock. Do you remember our Vermont glove test? I'm looking at yellow hammocks. Do you remember our Vermont glove test?
With the other ad set, for people that weren't here, another ad set for a different concept that was getting forced spend that was more, I guess, comedy based versus talking about the product.
Yeah, so we said, hey, we want to test changing concepts. What this taught us is, yes, we can actually absolutely go after the same people we've been hitting with the pixel and deliver them a different message. So I said, wait a minute, if that's possible without actually affecting the top one, without actually affecting the top line ad, that means that I can take a campaign trying to spend $50 a day and I can immediately spend 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, and I can spend that perfectly. So if I'm trying to spend $50 a day, I will spend $50 perfectly. And during the time period that this spent, this actually, between the 11th and the 16th, we can see here that the 11th and the 16th, compared to the previous period, yes, it absolutely affected the user base because we started delivering the wrong message to the wrong users at the wrong time. But our spend was unaffected.
Yeah.
So what if now let's start to piece together two laws. The first law says that if we open up Paint, you have
First law, Paint.
First law, Paint. Ad number 1, and you have all these ads. This ad runs, these ads do all the remarketing. Now, there's a segmentation in me here though. And the segmentation, if you think about it, is kind of like 3 different pieces of a funnel. You have your top of funnel up here, you have your middle of the funnel right here, and you have your bottom of the funnel down here. Well, let's think about that a little bit here. So if you have ads that are running, not Vermont Glove, but I'm going to be doing it here with Yellow Leaf. If I have 8 ads that I chose, and why did I choose those ads? Because it does a great job at explaining who the company is in a well-rounded scenario, like all 8 ads do. So these 8 ads explain what I needed they all have high hook rates. Good. We at least got the first milestone out of the way. So hook rate isn't success. Hook rate is a milestone. Once you have the milestone of hook rate, now you're successful with your creative. What are you saying? We're talking about the portability. We're talking about the philanthropy. We're talking about the travel. And we're talking also about the colors. And then we're giving it a comparison to how strong it is. So it helps 440 women in Thailand. It comes in amazing colors. There have 150,000 weaves for handmade platform. You can travel. You can take it to the beach. I have everything that I need in order to explain a proper scenario. Now, because the amount spent, though, went really high here of top, this isn't really, I mean, it's top of funnel, but it is top of funnel and middle of funnel. Hey, there's a hammock company out there. That's cool. But then there's another 2 minutes of the philanthropy. Philanthropy is good. Philanthropy is middle funnel, though. If I said, hey, the Flimmy Flammies are really good at getting children food because they're starving, you're like, that's cool. What the fuck's a Flimmy Flammy? This one, I said the hammocks. You're like, yes, I understand what a hammock is. That's a given. I understand what a hammock is. So this would be considered middle of the funnel. This hammock company you just heard of helps these women in this area. Now, because we already had such a warm funnel already, remember, because we had so much warm traffic that as soon as I started changing the scenario on them, they all reacted well. Oh, I didn't know that about your product. So middle of the funnel engagement to middle of the funnel half warm traffic did good, right? Yes, that's how we got the success that we did by increasing with only 16% more visits, 24% more in transactions just in the last 7 days. So we're bringing in more cold traffic we're bringing in more sales from some cold traffic, but a lot of warm traffic. They're already here. We just changed the message. For the final reveal, so what the fuck is it that we're doing? We are going to do a compartmentalized for spend funnel inside of Andromeda with ad sets to ensure the proper amount of spend to the portion of the journey of the funnel of the ad sets or the ads that are in that ad set. What all this means is that Vermont Glove is going to have its one campaign, and it's going to have a tofu, mofu, bofu ad set with $200, $150 in ad spend, and top of funnel and middle of funnel and bottom of the funnel creative in video formatting, focusing on good hook rates so we can adjust the amount of cold, middle, and warm traffic to a proper MMM structure in that campaign.
We go in circles so much, John.
If you do.
This is just like L1, L2, and L3.
It is. But instead of the campaign, it has to be done at the ad set level. And there cannot be overlapped. And it also be focusing on NC. And it's also have to have good hook rates. And I also don't give a shit what the CPA is. So the structure is very similar, but for all different reasons now. And for all different measurements.
So it's ABO is what you're saying.
Sort of, yes. Now ABO, but I don't want to force it. I want to limit it. So remember how this funny ads, we said, hey, this campaign spends $300 daily. This one spends $50 daily. This daily budget here doesn't need to be spent, but it did spend it.
Okay. So you're organizing the ad sets. You're still on CBO though. So you're allowing it to spend, you're just placing it out. Okay. So let me get this straight. So is it on CBO or ABO?
It's well, define each the rules of when something has to be spent versus when it can be spent.
Well, if you're doing top, middle, and bottom for organization,
because
you're segmenting by ad set.
Minimums, where you said, are you setting an ad set minimum, like you have to spend this regardless of performance, or are you setting a budget that you can spend this? There's two ways you could do it.
Oh, I see. I mean, in typical ABO, I would say minimum.
So you say you have to spend this at least.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Mine is you can spend up to this.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's limiting the cap on it versus forcing spend on it. So you're okay.
So remember
what's the difference of that versus CBO?
Well, what happens if you have a bottom of the funnel ad in your bottom of the funnel ad set, and now it's spending 80% of your budget?
Got it. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So you're this is so it's not so it's not the standard. Okay, this is, I want to make sure everyone watching this, because this is very, very important. It is not the previous L1, L2, L3 that we had, and you're not forcing spend. So that is extremely important. You are not forcing spend from the nature of pushing ABO to spend a certain amount of top of funnel versus middle of funnel versus bottom of funnel. So it's the counteracting of Meta over pushing bottom of funnel ads to warm traffic. And yeah, Ella brings up a really good point. How does the feeder play into this then?
So we'd almost think about it like this. We have intro ads, founder story, product highlights, or not product highlight, product intros, sizzle reels. Then we have our considerations ads. This is going to be testimonials. This is going to be use case studies, before and afters, happy clients. This is how it changed my life. Then we have sales scarcity warm. We have sales. We have ads that feature our product price, or starting as low as, or on sale today, or tickets ending now. This is where we're asking them to do an actual call to action. Okay, how much do we spend on this campaign? About $500. What's our NCAC? About $600. Let's scale it. Okay, what are we going to do first? Well, let's scale the intro ads. Let's see if we can bring in more cold traffic. If the entire campaign works well, we'll start to increase the next two, and then we'll do a round again. So now I can scale a campaign by actually having a proper amount of ad spend to not only the proper diversification, but also the concept, but also the hook, but also the offer, and the right amount of ad spend at each stage of the journey. So rather than saying, should we have, if we're looking at Yellow Leaf Hammocks as the example, and Yellow Leaf Hammock says, okay, what ended up happening in this campaign here with your one ad set that's active, because that's what I had to switch down to, is one active ad set. And then I have these 8 ads in them. And then I said, okay, excellent. Now, would you have chosen this exact budget? No. I probably would have put a little bit more money here, because I think portability is just as good as a philanthropy. I think $5,000 is a little bit too high in the philanthropy. If we're to say, I'm going to talk to you for 10 minutes, but I'm going to spend 5 minutes on philanthropy, only 2 minutes on travel, 2 minutes on color, and 1 minute on founder story. No. Why don't we spend a little bit more time showcasing the product diversification? Think of it as colors and as packability. Let's spend a little bit more time on the structural integrity of it. But let's not spend any more money on this. Let's see if we can adjust the message to say, yes, you know, philanthropy, and we're not going to spend any less on philanthropy. But if I want to go from 10 grand to 15 grand, and I'm going to lock this spend in, how am I going to distribute the other 5 grand? I'm going to put 3 here, 2 there. Good. Let's run it. Let's see how that affects.
The point, though, is that now you're forcing spend. And the argument that we hit, right, but you're forcing spend with ABO by having the splits 2 and 3.
I'm not forcing it. I'm saying if my top of funnel, if I go from my ad spend from 500 to 800, it will spend it, right?
Yes.
If it's cost cap, will it spend it?
Oh, you're cost capping as well too now.
Well, you absolutely. We use cost capping all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember how when
I want to make something super, super apparent for everyone watching before this confuses everyone.
Okay.
It's in testing. So
That's what I'm
this,
saying. You're seeing the way befores. This is in think
yes.
tank mode. This is the theory so far.
So don't do this yet.
Yeah, right.
Wait for the data to come in. We'll have more information on it, but this is the current test going on and the theory behind it. Okay.
hmm So we have basically, like, let's just say this is broken down into three. This is, let's just say, middle, top, and bottom. Was your bottom of the funnel spend perfect? Was your middle funnel spend perfect? And was your top of funnel spend perfect? Because if it wasn't, now I have that control. How? If I raise the budget on the top, if it's cost cap and it does spend, I win. I don't have to double down on the middle and the bottom anymore. They're already doing their jobs. So now I've increased the ad spend of that campaign without increasing a dollar on the wrong type of traffic.
The thing that I don't understand about this theory is that you're essentially saying that and we had this conversation earlier, that you're better at targeting than Meta is because you're
Meta's
allocating
better at
spend.
targeting. Meta's better at targeting than I am.
Right. Well, I understand that, but for example, like if someone has an interest in middle of funnel that's a new user that's top of funnel, you're controlling the spend ratios, so you're in theory saying that you are better at Meta than it is at targeting users.
Remember Kill the King? We proved that.
Yeah, the kill the king, meaning that for people that don't know, if it snowballs, if Meta spends snowballs after one ad and that ad begins to take over the account for whatever reason, typically based on conversion data, it ends up typically going warm or sticking to one product and you become a one product company, which is why we implemented the feeder and have proven the feeder works. But yeah, so sorry, what was your point on that?
Well, your question was you're better at targeting, and I said, yeah, we've proven that with Kill the King, which is why I know we can do this.
So with Kill the King though, that's based off of just one creative per se. So like the way that I'm seeing it is that if you have one creative that's working really well, you are pretty confident that when you change that one creative, it can change the entire nature of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you are saying that I'm going to control the top, middle, and bottom of funnel, now you're taking more of the reins away from the targeting and controlling the spend difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more so what I mean is that.
Pause you there and let me just pause you there because it might sound really stupid, but we might skip to the end. You're arguing for the fact that it just pushing more money into Meta with the creatives, it would be perfect.
Well, I'm more so arguing that I would sort of see what works and react to it inside of the ad set.
That's where we all failed.
Gotcha. So,
well,
but okay,
your leading ad, remember, has really low frequency.
Yes.
Really high hook rate.
Yes.
And then everything else needs to support it.
Yes.
Why can't you do that just at the top of funnel?
Because you don't know if, for example, there's something else inside of the frequency that's averaging it down. Like you can have a 4 frequency on middle of funnel, and a 2 frequency on middle of funnel, and the average is 3. So some users are new, some users are old.
And that had also the same, and that had also the right amount of spend compared to the other levels of ads in there. Now, let me ask you this. 80% warm traffic on a website. You launch a campaign. What is the traffic going to be?
It's going to be warm.
What if you were able to put 90% of your spend only to top of funnel ads?
Well, you would have to know their top of funnel ads. But yeah, it'd be great. But you'd have to know.
I'm not running a PDP. It's a top of funnel. I'm going to be like, hi, this is my company. You know, we know what.
Right, but like, if for example, because it goes back to that conversation we had about why CAPI imports are important as well too. I like this because we're going back and forth live, so we can kind of go through our thought process. So
let me do this. I'll do it a different way. You pick a name off of this list. It doesn't matter which one it is. And if I'm running it at the time, I'll showcase it, kind of thing. Women's hats, but I don't.
Oh, well. I'll buy one. That's fine.
Right.
I'll get it.
Right. All right. So this is what he spent the most amount of money on this last week or this last month. So out of 100 grand, $70,000 of it went to the product catalog.
Yikes.
Now
potentially yikes.
Well, without doing anything, without actually changing anything, I can limit that to $10,000 without even building a new campaign. Now, this Karen person here that has a good amount of good amount of purchases and has a decent CPA, I could probably give 5 more to that. Sherry, Sophia, and Brandy, creative. I think we could probably do more there, but maybe less here.
Why?
I think that because I still want 3 pieces of good creative. I just don't want to have a little bit more spend on this one. I don't think that message is right. I still want to include it, but I think we should say this more often.
Why? Like, what is leading you to that conclusion is what I'm trying to understand.
Yes. So I'll do a realistic one. Let's do Black Point Seafood, get Maine Lobster. Okay. So we just relaunched this entire thing. Yeah, well, we relaunched it, and we're kind of not testing this exact model, but we're doing all the diversification in our creative. So we're working on our hooks. Once we have tested a bunch of our hooks, we're gonna have a hook ad set. That's gonna be our cold ad set. That gets 80% of our spend. So Meta wants to focus on 80% of cold traffic, essentially. So if I can keep my spend to my creative on 80% cold creative, which means new creative, not sale, not PDP, not discount, not scarcity, not what gets to the CPA. But if I can keep spend static on cold, I should be able to truck ahead with minimal interruptions.
Yeah.
That was my thought process there. So if I say this one here, 34.31, see, okay, so hook, don't celebrate. Yeah, that was the old one. Let me just look at like the last 7 days because these are all new and old. Okay, so $1,900 and $114 here.
It's definitely a king ad.
Right. So let's look at this one. Hooks 70%. They got $114.
That's a pretty good amount of spend.
Right now, see how your brain says, well, I don't want to kill it, but I also don't want to make it the best one, right?
Do you mind adding the hook rate in the columns?
Sure.
I just want to see, because visualize, I think it's good for everyone too. Because these all look like video ads.
They are. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So King 47%, and then there's a couple outliers that are above that at a higher rate.
Now, here's what I would say. Caden, I'd like to add a new ad set. I'd like to put $200 more into it. I'd like to stick only this ad in there. So now the campaign is going to go from $4,600 in a week to $4,800 in a week. And this ad here is going to go from 826 is going to go to 1,026. I can promise you that. This one already has 10 percentile points basis, higher hook rate. I think it would actually work better. So I'm going to allow it to spend more. If it does not, I was wrong. Meta's better at targeting. If gotcha. I'm right and it spends and campaign performance get better, I'm right.
Can you show
not to have that functionality?
Can you show what you mean by allow it? Like, can you like just build it out real quick?
How we went? Like remember in Vermont Gloves when we added a new ad set and we put $50 per day spend maximum on it, and it spent all $50 per day without changing the main campaign's spend.
Got it. Okay, got it now.
There you go.
Okay. So it is what I said earlier, but
it's not forcing. I'm not saying
we're not forcing,
regardless of performance spender. It may turn into that. Can you imagine if allowing top of funnel and only top of funnel to be 3 times higher than both middle and bottom of the funnel? Imagine if that was a secret sauce. I bring 100 people to the site. What's your conversion rate, Caden? On average,
2%.
Okay, so you're going to spend 80% of your money on those bottom of the funnel people, on the 2%. What if you spend 50? What if you spend 50% more on top of funnel? Maybe don't beg the people to come back. Why don't you bring another person in? Would that work better? I don't know. Let's try it. We can.
This is so. This is so technical. I'm trying to I understand what you're saying. I completely get it. So we've gone from forcing spend, which harms the algorithm because you lose the efficiency. We've proven that both on Google and on Meta.
Mm-hmm.
However,
allowing spend, right?
Correct. However, we've moved into experiments as another thing where, you add a bulk products in and you force spend to a bunch of products and see which product wins. This is now an even better version of that, which is allowing spend to occur on something outside of what is already being forced. So this solves the king ad issue is really what happens. And if it gets, because want to rewind a little bit. Creative data is shared across accounts. And Meta Gem is going to allow you to pretty much know what type of creative is going to resonate with someone. But the issue that people tend to have with adding a new creative is that Gem already has a favorite based on the data, and it might or might not have that previous creative to test. So meaning that it might know the users that would like it or it might not. So you have to allow it to see, number one, if you're going to allow it to spend, you can say, okay, you have the ability to spend more on this. Is there an audience for that or not?
Because if you increase the budget and it can spend, it did have an audience.
Correct. And that's more validation for the quality of the creative versus forcing spend and seeing the results. And you save money.
And you can cost cap. And you can cost cap the portion of the journey.
Well, that would be for more middle of funnel or bottom of funnel too, though.
Bingo. But
not top of funnel.
But it solves the 80% spend on DPA by trying to grow your company. It's like, what if now what's funny is it seems like a really big aha moment. I've been doing this shit for 3 years. I didn't realize it. In this part here,
and really just controlling it from rabbit holing.
It's PRPT, RMK, and ACQ. It's the same thing that I taught this in Solutions 8.
You gotta explain that to me.
Yeah, PRPT, RMK, ACQ. So what this basically means is there's 3 designations of traffic that you can bring to a site. And in MMM modeling, when you start to learn kind of how MMM modeling works, they actually, the way that you kind of discuss it with folks that are doing it is they're data scientists. So they're not marketers. I understand it because we're marketers. Jesus. So if you look at this here, the paid channel breakdown, this is all we're doing.
Yeah.
Is I'm spending 34% of my money on prospecting. I'm spending 20% of my money on brand. I'm spending 8.7 on re-engaging, remarketing the non-purchasers yet. And I'm spending 35% of our money on existing customers. So my breakdown is 35% tofu, 35% tofu, 8% mofu, and 20% bofu. Is that the right media mix, Caden? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that tomorrow it could be 24% retargeting through, whatever Meta wants that day. Is that an appropriate amount? I don't know. I'm only here to increase this. If you say Meta's got it, I should just fire myself.
Yeah. Well, so that comes down
exactly.
The counter argument to that comes down to how demand fluctuates on the platform, which will affect prospecting, acquisition, and retargeting. But that I think would be something if you're totally saturated the market, which is possible if you're in a very low, like a low cost or low, I guess you can say, audience pool for like Google search, like a super small radius, but
yeah,
in a really high spend.
We may find this. We may find that in high AOV, this is the top of funnel spend, this is the middle funnel spend, and this is the bottom of the funnel spend.
Yeah, same with medium.
Right, because when you're looking at a $30,000 outdoor kitchen, you have to take a while to capture my attention because it's expensive, big, and scary. And then it's going to take a while for me to consider it because it is high AOV. But once I make my decision, it's not going to be based on an ad. You show me an ad isn't going to make my $30,000 decision. My brain is. So you don't really have to do a lot of like branded awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my model that I do with RTA.
Yeah.
We spend the littlest on brand because we take the longest introducing and convincing that $30,000 is the right idea. Now, Meta can do this out of a whim. Like, that one needs to go up. And I don't know, that one fucking go sideways. It does whatever it wants.
Yeah.
If I can compartmentalize them by capping them by saying, hey, top of funnel, you can go to 300. Middle of funnel, you can go to 200. Bottom of funnel, you can go to 100. What happened? Nothing good. Okay, well, top of funnel, you can go to 800. Everything else, you have to stay put. Well, now it's operating more efficiently because we have a lot of cold traffic that's very inexpensive, but a low conversion rate. But we're not spending too much begging them to come back, and we're not really spending too much converting them. Again, this is a test that, if this can work, could revolutionize what levers you can pull on what product categories and what audiences, on what ads, and not only what ads, but how much money you want to spend on that ad for the appropriate amount of time for that product in that season. Hey, if you like this video, we have a school community where we have a few hundred members and we cover topics, everything from the basics to all the way to the like hyper crazy advanced stuff that's like coming out next month. So few hundred members there. We go live twice a week, something with an hour-long education about something that is very relevant to the community that week, plus a weekly Q&A where you just get to come and bring us all of your problems and we solve them one at a time.
So I have a link below in the description if you want to join. And then obviously if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can answer those for you. And we'll see you in there.